All right, guys, we're going to do a quick set of notes here today on the civilizations of the Americas. We're looking at basically what was going on here in the Americas prior to the arrival of Europeans, which begins with the Christopher Columbus landing in what is now the Bahamas, followed by this wave of European explorers and adventurers, and eventually leads to the conquest of essentially all of North and South America by European countries and kingdoms. Okay, so for our purposes for world history class, we don't focus on the North American native tribes like the, Chippewa and Dakota and Miami and all those different ones that our school district is named after, even ones out west like the Anasazi or the Navajo or the Comanche. We focus more on what was going on in Central America and South America. So we look at three main civilizations. We're going to look at the Mayans, Aztecs, and Incas. And the goal here is that we understand, much like in Africa from the notes yesterday, that these were not uncivilized, primitive people. They were highly advanced societies with very complex social structures and government systems and religious practices and, trade networks and all those things that would signify, by definition, an advanced civilization. Okay, so what we do want to do is start with the idea, though, of these basic regions in general. And what we do know is that the Americas, North and South America, were first settled sometime between 60,000 and 18,000 years ago. So it's been quite a while, but basically what the belief is that back about 60,000 years ago, we were still in an ice age, and this is now what I'm circling here is Alaska. This would be part of Russia or Siberia. There was a land bridge that existed here, meaning because of all the ice, the water levels had dropped low enough to where you could literally walk across a land bridge, not as many miles long, from what is now Russia into Alaska. And the belief is that following the probably wildlife game that they were hunting, people slowly but surely migrated and ended up in North America. And when this thawed and this land was no longer exposed, it got cut off. But over thousands of years, they slowly migrated south and spread to cover all the continents of North and South America. And they adapted to the new climates, the mountain chains, the rivers, and each independent culture develops kind of independently on its own. So the civilizations do develop completely separately from those in Afro-Eurasia. They're culturally unique. There's no diffusion. There's no spreading of religion. So there's not going to be Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or anything like that in the Americas. And the way that they do develop is culturally very different. But again, as I mentioned, they're very advanced. They had well-established trade networks. There was various types of very advanced art. There was religions that were highly advanced, military creations, and basically, military structures, social structures, etc. There's no contact or knowledge of the other world until Columbus. And Columbus is kind of, more so than anything, known for sort of bridging the two worlds together as opposed to doing anything that actually is, conquering any land. So for our class, we focus our purposes on what is called Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica means Middle America. Much of it is incorporated in what is now Central America today, Mexico, Guatemala, Peru, or San Salvador, El Salvador, Honduras, Panama, places like that. Okay? And what we do is we see a shared cultural heritage with probably one of the most notable crops or most notable vegetables that are grown in the Americas that we associate with it is maize, what we now call corn. And we can find that all throughout Mesoamerica. So we're talking about the lands of Central America and Mexico. It begins with a group called the Olmecs. They're kind of what's called the mother culture. They established the first cultural sort of significance over this region. Then the Mayans, then the group called the Toltecs, and ultimately we're going to talk about the Aztecs. So we're going to focus quickly on the Mayans first. They had a pre-classical period and then a classical period. The classical period, meaning the height of Mayan civilization, would have been at the same time the Roman Empire was peaking over in Europe, or the Han Dynasty over in China. Predates the kingdom of Mali that we talked about yesterday during class in Africa, but would have been about the time of Ghana, the first of the great West African trading kingdoms. Now, the Mayans were a series of independent city-states, meaning they were not one continuous empire. Each little region, city-state, had its own leaders, had its own sort of government over the people, but they all share that cultural beliefs, the same sort of religious beliefs, the same languages. It was very similar to the Greeks. Ancient Greece was not a continuous empire. It was a series of city-states, Sparta and Athens being the two most powerful. The Mayans were similar, with Chichen Itza and Tulum and Palenque dominating some of the other city-states in their region. They did have very well-established trade networks, though, between city-states. They traded things like jaguar pelts of the jungle cat, the jaguar, a very precious stone called jade, amongst other things. The Mayans are known for being highly advanced mathematicians and astronomers, and using the movement of the stars and the sky to develop a highly accurate calendar. The calendar was used to mark religious observances of when the Mayan priests needed to perform certain ceremonies or even sacrifices. And they are the first to come up with this concept of zero. That kind of is the baseline holder for all of modern mathematics. So that's a pretty important contribution. Now the city goes into, or the civilization goes into decline sometime around the year 900, and there's no specific definitive reason why. But there's a lot of historian theories out there. And what we know is that about the year 900, all the powerful city-states get abandoned. It could have been too much warfare. It could have been drought that led to no agriculture. It could have been the collapse of the trade routes between the different city-states. Nobody knows, but we know they go into decline about the year 900. So they're not really going to be a powerful civilization when the Europeans arrive about the year 1500. And just a few pictures here. This is the Yucatan Peninsula, what is now southern Mexico and mostly Guatemala. That's where the Mayan civilization flourished. They did have a form of writing and record keeping. It was a hieroglyphic type writing and record keeping system. And a lot of the ruin sites are kind of dot the landscape like these ones here across southern Mexico and in parts of Guatemala today. We're going to focus a little bit on the Aztecs this week, though, as well. Kind of they're sort of our anchor civilization to look at. Now, the Aztecs are actually a group of migratory people. And they are a migratory native group that has migrated throughout what is now Mexico for many, many decades until they finally settle in a region of what is now, it's actually where Mexico City is located at today. There was a lake there at the time called Lake Texcoco. And so the Aztecs had this legend in their culture. And they were actually known as the Mexica people at the time. Mexica was the language they spoke. They spoke a language known as Mexica. It's where we get the word Mexico from. You change the A in Mexica up here to an O, and it spells Mexico. That's why Mexico is named after the Mexica-speaking people, or we call the Aztecs. So anyhow, so they have this legend in their civilization that the priests are looking for the sign from the gods that tells them when and where to settle and build their great civilization. And what they're looking for is when a priest sees an eagle fly across the sky and land on top of a cactus, and in the eagle's mouth has to be a serpent, a snake. And when they see that is a sign from the gods to build a great civilization. Well, it happens about the year 1345 on our calendar, anyhow. They see this sign, but it's on an island in the middle of this marshy lake called Lake Texcoco. But they say, this is it. This is where we settle. And so they end up building this great capital city called Tenochtitlan. And it's going to be a unique city in the sense that they have to develop engineering accomplishments, like how do you build a city on top of a marshland? And to do so, they're going to have to fill it with mud and build it up. They're going to have to build these causeways to connect it. But also, they're going to have to develop an agricultural system. How do you grow crops in a lake? So they developed a system called the chinampas. What a chinampa is, it's essentially a floating garden. They weave together these reeds and make this mat, and they pile dirt and muck on top of it that floats in the water. And they grow maize and beans and squash and other things on top of these chinampas. And so they developed this highly advanced agricultural technique, and it allows them to flourish. You could see the chinampas, what they would have looked like here. They're kind of like these floating gardens out in the lake area of Lake Texcoco around Tenochtitlan. Even today, they're still used in parts of central Mexico and some of the marshlands as well. And I point this out here, this symbol. If you look at the flag of Mexico today, Mexico's flag has a green, white, and red like tricolor to it. But in the middle, this is the symbol you're going to see. It's kind of right in the middle of the center of the flag. And if you look at it, what it is, it's an eagle perched atop a cactus holding a serpent in its mouth. And the idea is the Mexican people today, in the country of Mexico today, are the descendants of the original Aztecs, who eventually blend their civilization with the Spanish conquerors, hence the reason they speak Spanish in Mexico today, not Mexica anymore. But they do pay homage to that because they put that on their flag. Now, the Aztecs are a very continuous empire. Unlike the Mayans, it was not a series of city-states. It was one empire ruled from the capital of Tenochtitlan by an emperor. They used military conquest and seized land and slaves from the conquered people. The people who are conquered are forced to pay an annual tribute in either slaves or gold or crops or even human beings for sacrifice to the capital. They established trade networks throughout it. They may have even extended as far north as the southwest United States. But their religion is kind of one of the most well-known things about the Aztecs. They were a polytheistic religion, and they believed there were gods that controlled various aspects. God that controlled the sun and rain and war and all these different things. But what's unique about the Aztecs is that they believe that gods made the world work through the personal sacrifice of people. And the belief was that in order to get the crops to grow, the gods to bless the crops, they needed the power that came from human bloodshed. So the Aztecs have this whole religious program of human sacrifice, where Aztec priests would take human living people, either captured prisoners or people who were volunteered or given up for sacrifice by their families to the priests. They would take them to the top of these big temples, and they would lean them over this stone altar, and they would use this obsidian rock, or this obsidian knife, volcanic glass knife, and they would chop out their heart and remove their still beating heart and let the blood flow down the stairs of the temple, as you see over here. And the belief was the gods needed this blood and this sacrifice in order to make the world work. So they would also sacrifice humans to appease the war god, Huitzilopochtli. So kind of one of the things that the Europeans, when they discover this, this is obviously a very savage idea to them, but to the Aztecs, it was part of their cultural religious belief. It was not odd. It was not savage. It was part of what they believed in their hearts and in their belief in their religion. So, that's kind of one of the things that is well known about the Aztecs is this use of human sacrifice throughout their history. And then finally, down further south, we have the Incas. The Incas carve out a region of an empire down through the Andes Mountains in what is now South America, beginning about the year 1250. It gets expanded under an emperor by the name of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, begins out of the capital city of Cuzco and expands across much of what is now modern-day Peru. The government was led by military leaders. It was a highly militaristic society. It was very well connected, though, through these series of trails and roads that connected throughout the Andes Mountains. It was called the Carpanan, much of it built by labor, by required servitude from men and what's known as the Mita system, also through slave labor of captured prisoners. The one thing that really stands out about the Incas, they never develop a form of writing. Unlike the Aztecs and Mayans and Olmecs and the others in Central America or even North America, there was a spreading of ideas, a diffusion of ideas. So they learned how to write using hieroglyphics from each other. That never spread to South America. So the Incas never developed writing, but they had this unique system called a quipu. Q-U-I-P-U, quipu, a series of knotted colored strings that represented a way to track things. Tax collection, stories from history, all these different things that they used instead of writing to keep track of things. But it was a highly connected empire, had a series of trails and roads that ran over 25,000 miles through the mountains, and they used this to move the military for trading purposes, to pass information amongst the empire back to the capital of Cuzco using a relay runner system. So again, highly advanced society. Okay? So the goal here was not to necessarily know every specific detail about the Mayans, Aztecs, or Incas, but to simply understand that these were complex societies prior to the Europeans arriving in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. Okay, that's the end of the notes for today.